Hi, my name is Dennis Siri. I am Executive Director and founder of the New York City Independent Film Festival, Independent in Spirit, International at Heart, and this is the New York City Independent Film Festival Meet the Filmmakers podcast. Join us while we meet this year's filmmakers. Thank you. Bye bye. Hi, welcome to this episode. We're here now with Hannah Rehak with the music video Heartache. Welcome, Hannah. Please introduce
Hi.
yourself and tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, hi. My name is Hannah Rehak. I'm a Chicago native, now living in Brooklyn, and I'm a comedian and writer and filmmaker. And I make my day job living in podcast producing. So yeah, I have my hand in all different kinds of media. And yeah, my background is in comedy, improv, and sketch.
Okay, cool, great. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, so what made you want to be a filmmaker? Where was that? How did that happen?
Well, I think to begin, I've always been invested in storytelling as like a baseline. I'm a writer first. I mean, that was my first creative love, I think. I come from two parents who are writers. Um, and so I followed that interest into improv and comedy and the performing arts and really fell in love with ensemble building and working creatively with a singular vision, using the minds of many. Like I really love and enjoy the sort of the team sport aspect of uh, improv and sketch, and then from there fell in love with being on sets by being with my friends who were making movies and films and sort of being more immersed in that world. I realized that yeah, filmmaking could also be a really not could but is a really team oriented craft. You need many people doing their best, working hard together to make anything worthwhile. So I think I guess that was the first draw for me. Was the combination of a love of storytelling and a desire to be around other creative people.
Okay, and how long have you been doing this? You said when you were little you started writing, but how long have you been trying to make a living out of doing it or doing it seriously?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I guess when I after college when I was 22, I moved back home to Chicago to pursue performing and to study comedy and the arts, I guess, in the city. So now it's been, I guess, about 10 years. And I would say in the last 6 years, maybe, I've started to be able to really support myself through the diversity of I teach improv, I perform at the Second City, I also make films which don't make me money yet, but bring me quite a bit of joy. And then again, podcasting and producing podcasts. So that's really been in the last, yeah, 5 or 6 years.
When you said all this to your family and friends, I guess as a writer they were supportive. But what did your family and friends say when you were like, I'm going to do filmmaking or this full
Oh,
time, full time?
yeah,
How was
yeah.
that?
I'm super lucky. I'm super lucky in that I come from artist parents who actually met. Oh, sorry, I had to turn off my notifications on my Slack. I'll start that again for editing. I'm super lucky. I come from two parents who are artists themselves. My mom is a musician, a singer-songwriter, and my dad was an English teacher in a high school for most of his professional life, but also as a playwright and has written books. And the two of them met in New York, in fact, performing, doing sketch comedy together in the 80s. So that's a long way of saying I'm really lucky in that when I tell them I'm going to pursue anything, be it improv to begin with, writing, or now really moving towards directing and filmmaking, they're just thrilled and kind of wish me luck and are like, okay, good luck trying to make money doing it, but we're proud of you for trying.
Okay,
So
that's great. You're lucky.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you have your tribe, your support group around filmmaking podcasts? I mean, Second City
Yeah.
gives you your support group, but besides that, do you have like a group of friends, your tribe that's yours?
Yes, I do. I'm super lucky, and it's that group of people who have even made it feel possible for me to break into directing and filmmaking. I think I, for a long time, had some imposter syndrome because it's not something that when I was like 6 years old, I was like, I have to be, I have to be a director, I have to be a filmmaker. It's something that came sort of later in life, relatively speaking, I guess. So yeah, I have a group of folks primarily from Chicago, from my Chicago days in my 20s, who are all people who make movies and make film because they enjoy it. Like there's in Chicago generally there is a spirit of you make things just because you want to, and that there's an energy around sort of doing it yourself, which means that a lot of the people I know in the filmmaking world in Chicago who are my first home base for this, could do it all. Be like, we'll film for you. We'll bring on a friend to do sound. We'll like, I can edit if I have to, things like that. So there was sort of this like ragtag energy of let's just help each other make things. And it's from that energy that I then got really addicted to, again, being on set and making things with people I admire. And from there, a friend of mine, Will Sondheim, who actually produced this music video. He knew I wanted to direct, and so sort of gave me opportunities to direct alongside him, and then sent me some directing work, and sort of supported me along the way. So that's a very long way of saying that yes, I feel like I have been cheer-led and championed by friends of mine who just get great pleasure from making art together. And now in New York, I'm trying to find that. I'm 6 months into living in New York, so I'm new here, and it's gonna, I think, probably take a little while, but I do feel like I have a little bit of a head start because of my connections from the second city and also from Chicago. Lots of people who've moved to New York, or who have friends in New York. So yeah, I'm still trying to find that here.
Well, sounds like you're so far been very lucky, which is great. All right, so what made you decide to make this music video? This part of the music video.
So this project came to me. So this music video is actually part of a visual album with 10 other music videos. A friend of mine from Chicago, named Ollie Hobson. He is a musician. I know him through improv actually, but his other love is music, and he wrote an album dedicated to his sister who passed away a few years ago. And so the album is really a love letter to her and an exploration of grief. And he teamed up with my friend Will, who I mentioned, to produce a visual album with a range of directors, each director taking on a different song. And Heartache is actually the titular song of the album. The album is named Heartache. So I felt very bold when I asked Will and Ollie, like, well, the song I have the biggest idea for is Heartache. Would it, is it okay if me, a relatively inexperienced director takes on this music video, knowing that it's, again, the song that the album is named after. And to their credit and generosity, they both were like, yes, you should do that. If you have an idea for this song, this should be the song that you tackle. So that came to me about maybe like 15 months ago, and then I got to ideate for a few months and ultimately film it last May. So I guess I wanted to take it on because I love Ollie's music, and I felt really honored to be asked, and I had an idea.
What was the hardest part about making this music video, and what was the most fun part about making this music video?
I will say I've worked on a couple of other projects that have had more obvious difficult moments. This shoot just happened to be sort of easy breezy. Like we got really lucky. We were able to film it in a day. I've worked with the DP before, so we had a really good rhythm. Will, who was producing, also AD'd, and so I had a lot of support on this film shoot, and so nothing immediately comes to mind. I guess I would say that the biggest hurdle for me was breaking through any fear I had or imposter syndrome about taking it on, and really kind of having to come face to face with that for myself and to say like, but do I actually think I'm up to it? And the answer was yes, because I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think I could do right by the song and couldn't do right by the visual album. So having to really force myself to answer that question, like, are you up to this task, and will you give it everything you can, given limited resources and limited time, etc. Yeah, and having to come face to face with that question, I think, was probably the hardest part. And then the most fun part was I had a great time. I had a great time filming and working with a choreographer, Trisha Brown, to do the dance sequence. That was a real joy. And I would also say editing with Will, who did the first edit, and then the DP, and I actually worked on doing the final edit. That was really fun. That was, about 6 hours, me hovering over his shoulder to be like, I think it should, I want the color to look a little bit more like this, and here's the font I'm debating for the title, and how can we add a little bit more movement. And I feel like I learned a ton from everybody in who worked on this project, and especially the DP, Zach Slilko, taught me quite a bit in post-production. I feel like I learned a lot from watching him work.
Are you a filmmaker or a person that you finish a project and you sit there and feel like every single time you see it, I should redo that, I should redo this? Or you're the kind of person that sits there, you finish the project, you push this child out into the world, you go, okay, there's a couple mistakes, I'll learn from them. And you just let it move on to your next project. Which way do you go?
It's a great question. And I am thrilled to report that I'm the latter type of person. And I didn't know I would be, because at this point, I've only directed, let's see, like 3 or 4 projects on my own. I've AD'd for a couple other things, PA, things like that. But I still feel pretty new. And every project, I'm like, is this going to be the one where I'm haunted by the final product? Like, where I see the final product and the final film, and I'm like, this isn't, oh no, like, I don't want this to represent me or something like that. And I feel really bolstered by having worked with so many people that I respect. So there's the voice in my head when I watch something and I think, oh, it's like not perfect, or it's not exactly how I would want it to look. There's a voice in my head being like, that's no reason to not put it out and look to the world, to not do your best to fix it in post, or to keep working on it until it's something you can be proud of, because there's so many other creative handprints on this project or on this film. It's not just about you. So I think that's I'm not above that feeling of obsessing over something I've made not being perfect, but I do think I set myself up to not dwell there by working with folks who I think are good people, talented people, focused people. Yeah, I feel like because I'm working with a team, it's a little bit easier to not be so hard on myself.
I actually have to admit, I'm the kind of person, I look at a film I made 10 years ago and I'm still like, maybe I should redo it. Right. Okay, so now in the indie world, we all know if we stay with the indie world, we're never going to buy mansions, private jets, yachts, whatever. So what would you consider success in the indie world? What does success look and smell and feel like?
First and foremost, I think my biggest emotional high that I get is when somebody, and I sound like a broken record, but somebody whose work I admire, or somebody whose work ethic I admire, wants to work with me. That's sort of it. Like, that's the success for me. Obviously, after that is then getting to work with them and being proud of what we make and having people see it. Of course, that's like the chain reaction of success. But I would say, really, first and foremost, particularly to your point about the indie world not necessarily being lucrative or like skyrocket to fame and fortune, it really is about the process, of course, and it's about making something you're proud of. And so when someone, whether that's a sound mixer or an editor or a DP or a writer or another director, reaches out to me and says, like, I think you would be an asset to a thing that I'm making, or I have an idea and I would love your handprint on it, that's like, that is success. And I would say, as I vision a future in this industry, I would hope that just like continues to be true, and the network of people that I get to work with who I feel that way about just like gets to grow and grow. I mean, that would be the dream.
Okay, cool. So somebody comes along, some little 12-year-old comes along and goes, "Hi, Aunt Hannah, I'm going to be an indie filmmaker just like you." What would you say?
Mhm.
Hey, go get an engineering degree, or would you be like, "Yes," or "Get away from me"? What would be your answer? What would you say to them?
I mean, my first impulse is I would say, great, go do it. And now it's an important question because I want to do right by whoever the little kid is. So I have to think if there's something else that I would want to say. I guess I'll say for myself something I'm working on that maybe isn't the best advice for a child, but is something I'm working on is not getting too self-serious, I guess. Like anytime I have an exciting um step in the indie world direction, like being part of a film festival or having somebody who I admire and don't know reach out and say, I really love your work or whatever it is, I can feel myself sort of getting like more serious about it, whatever it is. And I think that that's great to take yourself seriously and your work seriously out of respect to the form and the people you work with and what you're putting into the world. And at the same time, I hope to be able to hold on to like a playfulness around making things in a capitalist world, that it doesn't just become like bottom line about again success or views or money. So if a little kid I guess came up to me and said I want to be a indie filmmaker just like you, I would say great, go do it, and keep checking in and make sure that you're having fun. Like don't get caught up in some stated dream from your early childhood. If it's not fun, stop doing it. It doesn't have to be fun all the time, but I remember my grandfather telling me I was crying to him about playing soccer, and I was like, I don't think I want to play next year. And he was like, great, don't. And it was so simple for me. I was like, that is what I needed to hear. He was like, yeah, it sounds like you're not having fun anymore. So I guess keeping an eye on that, make sure you're enjoying yourself.
I'm actually done with my questions. I don't know if there's any last statements you want to make to the world, or any other comments about.
Oh, well, I'm really honored to be included, and thanks for having me. That's all.
Well, you're certainly welcome, and thank you for sending the film. Without the films, we wouldn't have a festival. All right, so I'm going to throw in here. So the film is
Yeah.
going to show June 7th, Friday, at the New York City Independent Film Festival Producers Club at 10:15 p.m. with a whole bunch of other music videos. It's always a great time when we have to do all the music videos together. And thank you.